Hey adventurers, so today is going to be my wrap up for August as well as for the July, June, May, April, March, and February. I'm not going to talk a whole lot about what I read in those last and since February. I'll talk about my books in August that I've read, but I'm not going to worry about. I'm just going to mention what I read since February. Especially since February, I'll have reviews for. I got one last review to put out for February, and then these other ones I didn't really read a whole lot, and so I'm not going to talk a whole lot about them. So in February, I finished up my reread of The Lord of the Rings, which I was doing from the perspective of Frodo. And so all I had to do was read The Return of the King. So I read Return of the King. Then I listened to Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson. And I read The Buried Giant by Kazuo Ishiguro with Liam from Liam's Lyceum. In March, I didn't read anything. In April, I finished up The Advent of Winter. In May, I finished Fleeting Word by Andrew D. Meredith. In June, I didn't read anything. In July, I read One Piece East Blue Saga. And then in August, I read, the first one I read was Out of the Silent Planet by C.S. Lewis. I need to remove that ugly green price sticker off the top there, but I read Out of the Silent Planet by C.S. Lewis. So August, I chose to participate in a readathon on the Keymark Discord, which is run by A.R. Witham, the author of The Legend of Blackjack, The Crimes of Rooker Flynn, The Legend of the Border Knight, I think is what it's called, or The Tale of the Border Knight. And his next book is coming out in, I want to say January. I'm not positive, but it's coming out fairly soon here as well. So I did the readathon with them, the summer TBR readathon or something like that. I don't remember what it was called, but it was basically read 5 books that are already on your TBR and fit them into these prompts. So what I did was I read Out of the Silent Planet by C.S. Lewis as my first book. This one I read physically because I had physically. And what did I use this for? I used this for the Halfling Village prompt. The Halfling Village prompt, which is a book that's less than 200 pages. And this one is 160 pages. So that one counted for that one. Then I read, what's the next thing that I read? It was The Crimes of Rooker Flynn, which I read on ebook. I did get the ebook for free and the audiobook actually, from A.R. Witham, the authors, sent me the audiobook, and I also somehow along the way got the physical book, or the ebook. I don't remember how I got that, but I got them both. I will do a review of this once I get to it. Very much enjoyed this one as well. Oh, I didn't talk at all about Out of the Silent Planet. This is a sci-fi book. This is the first book in the sci-fi trilogy the space trilogy by C.S. Lewis. This is about a man called Ransom who gets basically kidnapped and taken to, what is the planet that he gets? Thulkandra, I want to say. And it is his story of his adventures there, and it's very slow, very somber in many ways. An adventure, sure, absolutely it is, but or a journey maybe, because who said that? Where was that said? I think the Stranger says it in the last episode of season 1 of Rings of Power, and he says something about how a journey, I don't remember, something about it. If it's only one person, it's a journey, but if it's an adventure if there's two, or something like that. And that's not exactly the quote that he says, but I like that quote. And so I like that idea where it's a journey if it's only one person, but it's an adventure if there's more than one. If it's shared, that's what he said. If it's an adventure needs to be shared. But anyways, this is a journey of the character Ransom as he gets kidnapped to and taken to Thulkandra, I want to say the name of the planet is. Did it tell me on the back? Malakandra. Malakandra is the name of the planet, and he explores it. He meets the aliens that are there, and just learns about the world, learns about himself, learns about these other people. There's a little bit of philology and linguistics that's put into this book, and I enjoy that. It wasn't my favorite book of all time. No, I'll talk more about this when I actually do my review of it, and then you'll see. This year it was supposed to be, I don't know that it's going to work out, but it was supposed to be kind of a year of Lewis for me, where I read the space trilogy, and I have 2 other books, The Dark Tower and Other Stories by C.S. Lewis, and I thought I had something else by him, but I don't remember what else I had. So maybe just the 4 books. I thought I had 5 that I wanted to read by him, but I don't remember now. Anyways, I'd still like to read the other 2 books in the space trilogy this year, and The Dark Tower and Other Stories, but we will see what actually happens. But I will do a review of this, so you can expect that. All right, now we can talk about the Crimes of Rooker Flynn, which was a very fun story about Rooker Flynn. It follows Rooker Flynn as it says, the Crimes of Rooker Flynn. So it's he gets put in jail. He gets captured and put in jail, and that's where this story begins. And that's what this story is about him and his attempt to survive in a school, an institute, the Locke Institute, as it's called. And it's a very, like Blackjack, like The Legend of Blackjack, it's very, very well paced, very quick, very punchy. It just moves and goes real quick and fast, one event to the next. But it's not done in such a way that you don't have time to appreciate or breathe or anything, appreciate what's going on or anything. And so his pacing is phenomenal. I really just enjoy the stories that he's telling. But this one dug more into the horror, and it was really fun. It was like creepy, just creepy and terrifying, and just a really fun story. I really enjoyed The Crimes of Rooker Flynn. And yes, I did read that one on ebook. The next one I have, I should note what prompt that I put that into, just because we're talking about that. For The Crimes of Rooker Flynn, I used Enchanted Forest, which I believe is a creature, an animal on the cover, and so I used this one for that. Then the next one that I read was Andrew D. Meredith's Quaint Creatures, Magical and Mundane, which is a sideways tale. And so this is a standalone in this sideways world that he is, or universe or whatever, that he has created. And this is the first book that he's published in this universe. And I'm excited. I read this one. I believe that I got the audiobook for this one because I bought the physical book. And so I listened to the audiobook on this one. I used it. What prompt did I use it for? Rebel Encampment, which I believe is a book by a self-published author. And so yes, this is a book by a self-published author, as is Crimes of Rooker Flynn. It's basically all creatures great and small, but as a fantasy book, which means it's basically about a veterinarian taking care of animals and having his own adventures in this city that he lives in and that he works in, and the things that come into his shop and how he deals with them and how they affect the world around him as he comes to find out it's all bigger than just the one little animal at the time. And it's just enjoyable. It's very, very enjoyable book, of course narrated by Andrew D. Meredith, and as always he does a fantastic job with the narration. So yeah, just a wonderful little book. It's not terribly long. I like this quote by Kay from Kay's Hidden Shelf: "A cozy slice of life world you won't want to leave." And then the other one by Tori Tekken: "Nostalgic fantasy vibes wrapped in a fresh and enchanting take on cozy." And both of those are very accurate. I don't love using, I don't feel like it's quite cozy fantasy, but it is. It's if like veterinarian fantasy is a thing, that's what this would be. All right, then the last two that I finished, the next one that I finished was Dandelion Wine by Ray Bradbury. This is, which one did I use this for? Dandelion Wine. I listened to this on audiobook, and I used it for Switching Spell, which is, I believe, if I remember correctly, a book that is outside your normal genres. And technically, it's not super far outside my normal genres because I have read some other Bradbury, and I've really enjoyed the other Bradbury that I've read. But it's a fiction book that's not science fiction, and it's not fantasy. It's just speculative. Is it speculative even? It's not even really speculative fiction. To some degree, it's not even fiction because it's a fictional retelling of a summer. That basically this is the story of summer, and I'm excited to do my review for this one because, like with all of the Bradbury books, they're so theme heavy and so atmosphere heavy that that's why I enjoy them. And that's the same thing with this one. It's essentially the story about a boy as he lives during one summer, and that's a super interesting way to tell the story. Is just this is summer, and we're starting at the beginning of summer and we end the book at the end of summer, and it's just a fun little story with lots of life lessons, lots of themes in it, very atmospheric and very, very much enjoyable. All right, and the last one that I finished in August is The Bear and the Nightingale by Catherine Arden. This one I also listened to on audiobook, and this one I used for, name of the prompt, Sorcerer's Stone, which is the first book in a series. And this is a story about a girl in Russia, and about how she can see the household spirits and the demons, as they're called, and just the creatures that are in the world. And it's very fantasy, it's very magical, it's very Russian in a lot of ways, partly because it's set in Russia, but it's also just the culture is very Russian. It's very much wintry, which I do enjoy. That I'm Alaskan. I really find that I have greatly enjoyed stuff set in winter. Part of why I enjoyed the Advent of Winter anthology as much as I did was because it was set in winter. All the stories were about winter, surrounding or focused around that theme of winter. And this is the same thing here, where winter is coming. That's the whole premise, is they have to be able to survive this next winter, and things are happening so that it's getting harder and harder and harder and harder and harder to survive each winter. I have a lot of thoughts about this story, and I'm not entirely sure what my opinion will fully end up being once I do my review. I enjoyed the time that I was listening to it, but I also didn't enjoy every single aspect about the story, potentially. And that's kind of a weird thing to say. How can I potentially not have enjoyed the experience? And that has to do with what the intent was behind what author was saying. And so I'll talk about that more when I get to my review as well. But anyways, that is what I read in August, and I just named the books that I read in the past 6 months as well. I didn't read very much in the past 6 months. August was kind of the first month that I've read a lot of anything, or a significant amount of anything, which 5 books is hardly significant, especially when 3 are audiobooks. Basically, I read one short physical book and 1 normal length ebook, and then the 3 audiobooks. One was very short, the other one's average for fantasy. And what was the last one that I listened to? Oh, it's another fairly short one. It's Dandelion Wine. Is fairly short, or short to normal length. And so, I don't know, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a really good reading month. I enjoyed all the things that I was reading at the time of reading them. Not all of them are 5 stars, but I enjoyed my reading in August, and it was really nice to actually get back into reading a little bit, because it wasn't so much a reading slump as it was just I didn't care about reading. I didn't take the time to read. I was not here. I was out of country for 6 months, and so I didn't take the time to read, and I didn't worry about it. And honestly, it was a nice break. It was a very nice break. But then when August came, I was like, yeah, I want to read, and I want to participate in this readathon. And it was very good for me. It was a great reading month. I enjoyed what I was reading, and I enjoyed getting back into reading. Now I just have to work my way. The book I'm currently reading, which I don't have with me at the moment, it's downstairs. The book I'm currently reading is Taliesin by Stephen R. Lawhead. This is the first book in the Pendragon cycle, and I'm not entirely loving it, which is kind of unfortunate, because I love Arthurian and I really wanted to love this book, but so far it's not quite working for me. I'm not engaged in it primarily, and maybe I will be once things get happening, but things just aren't really happening right now, and I'm not that far in. I'm only like 50 pages in or something like that, and I'm just not enjoying the time that I'm reading it. And so that's a little bit unfortunate, but it is good to be reading something, even though I am not reading a ton right now. I also just got the audiobook for Goblet of Fire, so I'm listening to the Goblet of Fire. I'm going to listen to Words of Radiance really soon here, and the other one that I'm going to listen to, that was our team book, and the Crystal Ballers was our team in the readathon. Our team book was the Return of the Knights by Gregory Contaxis, and I will listen to that. I started listening to it, and I was running out of time, so I boosted the speed and boosted the speed and boosted the speed, and I got almost to the end, and I had to go eat dinner, and so I was like, well, I won't have enough time to finish the book before the cutoff, the time cutoff, and so I was like, all right, I'm just going to stop. And realistically, I was listening to it at such a high speed that I wasn't able, and I was doing other things. I couldn't just sit and listen for 8 hours straight. I had to do other things, and so I couldn't just sit and listen at that high speed and focus as much as I needed to for it to be at that high of speed. And so I'm going to re-listen to it, because I want to listen to it. I want to see if I can enjoy the book. I want to see what the book's really about. Like, I know it, and in many ways I have the broad storyline of the whole thing, but I want to actually give it a fair chance so that I can give it an honest, good review once I have read it. And so that will also be one that I read fairly soon here. Thank you guys for watching an Erudite Adventure. We will be back on, Thursday. I think for now, I'm gonna stick with the one video a week on Thursdays, and we will see if that continues or if I decide to switch back to 2 videos a week. Right now, I don't have enough book reviews to do a video or a review a week and then another video, so we'll see what I decide. At the moment, I'm gonna stick with one video a week. I like that cadence of it, with the one video and having time to edit, but then I can also backlog, and I like having a backlog of videos. So that's the plan. This is rambling on long enough. Thank you guys for watching An Erudite Adventure. We will see you guys again soon. Stay well.